Hey guys, so in this video, we are talking through one of the problems in your lab manual. And this problem is basically wrapping everything we've done so far with demand and supply, revenue, cost, profit, all into one big problem, okay? So if you'll look at the information that's given, what I have highlighted in yellow is information about the demand, okay? And then what I have highlighted in pink is information about the supply. And then really important here, they're saying that let price be your input variable. All right, so it's really important that you follow that since that's what they designated. So what we're going to follow here is setting up our points with the price as the input and the number of packs, okay, will be our output, okay? So you can really think about it as like P comma Q, P for price, Q for quantity, all right? So our demand, okay, so based off of what we have there, we have to set our demand up as 3 comma 80, okay, using the $3 a pack for 80 packs and the 1.50 for 110. Okay, then what we're going to do is put these in Excel and we're going to find a trend line. Now just be mindful that in Excel, all right, you're going to set up, you'll have P and Q probably, and you'll have 3, then 80, and then 1.50 with 110, and then you're going to insert your scatter, and then just be mindful that you're probably going to have to do that row column switch. So remember to always look for, do you need to switch the order how those points have been plotted, okay? Because that will probably happen here. Let me get this out because I need the space for something else here in just a minute. But anyways, pause the video and do that step. And what you're going to find is Excel's going to give you this trend line. All right, and then what we want to do is we want to think about this with the correct variables. So I'm going to say that's Q equals negative 20p plus 140. All right, and we can also think of this as d of p equals negative 20p plus 140. Those would mean the same thing, okay? Then you're going to repeat the process for your supply, and with your supply, you want to use the points 2, 100, and 2.75, 200. Plot the points, do the row column switch if necessary, and get that linear trend line. Which this should be what Excel gives you. And then you're going to want to think of that with the correct variables. Okay, and then once again, I could think of this as S of P equals, okay, that same linear function there. Okay, those all mean the same thing. So what we're going to do for our demand equation is we're going to use this, okay, or that. Those are the same. And for our supply, we're going to use this, okay, or the S of P version. So pause the video, get all of that in your Excel, and make sure your numbers are matching. All right, and then what we're going to do is start setting up our columns here. So I'm going to have a P, and then I'm going to have a D of P, and then an S of P. All right, setting up using our functions. So for P, I was started at a 0, and then 2, and then continue down with that pattern. And then D of P, obviously, we're going to be using that formula that we got from our demand function, right? And then for our S of P, we're going to be using the formula that we got for the S of P, all right? So you need to stop the video and set those columns up. All right, and it says, what is the market equilibrium and quantity? Okay, sorry, equilibrium price and quantity. All right, and so what you're going to do there is you're going to um, find when demand equals supply, right? So demand equals supply, and that's also when demand minus supply equals 0. All right, so for our equilibrium, all right, I'm just gonna call it E here for equilibrium. We're going to subtract, so that'll be B2 minus C2. Okay, that'll be our formula there. And then what we want to do here is we want to figure out when does this equal 0. So we're going to use our goal seek there. So we're going to goal seek our equilibrium equal to 0. And we're going to see what we get there. And what happens is we get a p-value. Let's see here. It's, let's see, it's like 2.00. Oh gosh, a lot of zeros there. 0.00652, and so on. Okay, so we're just going to round this to 2 decimal places because it is a price, right? So that would be $2, and that is when our demand equals supply. That's the price, equilibrium price, and our quantity is going to be what's in your demand and supply cells right there, which that amount is like 99.9987. That's what's in each of the demand and supply cells for that equilibrium price. And so you could round that. You could round that to 100 if they were asking you to round it. Just like in WebAssign or whatever, just pay attention to what they're asking you to do as far as rounding goes. Okay, and so when you are goal seeking, okay, so what I'm going to do here is update. Okay, right here. So let's say you kind of carried this down, and we did our goal seek here. So this is going to be that 2.00 blah 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 decimal. We would have a 0 here, and then that 99.9987 should be in each of these cells here. Okay. All right. So what is the cost equation? Now, this is where I feel like the problem gets pretty tricky. So the way we set up our cost is, right, our cost is going to be dollars, right? That's how we think about cost in terms of money. So when they give you the information, you're actually setting it up. Let's see, go back up here. They're actually setting it up with the variables differently, okay? So it's talking about it costs $870 for 600 packs and $620 for 400 packs. So we actually have to think about that as for that 600 packs, it has a cost of $870, okay? So this is like the Q here, and this is the P. So you can see the variables have kind of switched places as compared to how we set up the demand and the supply. And this can happen, okay? So it's the same thing as what we've seen in some other problems. All right. So what's going to happen here is when we go to Excel and we find that linear trend line, we're going to get y equals 1.25x plus 120. And what we need to realize is our Q, right, our input variable, the x, is a quantity, all right? So what we just found there is a C of Q, like that. Excuse me. Which is tricky, right? We have to be very, very careful of thinking about our variables, because up here, right, our variable was a p, okay? That's how our functions were set up in terms of a p, and now we have a q. So we need to now do an extra step to get this in terms of p. So my c of p, okay, and I'm going to choose yellow here. My C of P, I need to get that Q out of there, and I need to get a P in there instead. Remember, you can't just swap it from Q to P, but what I can do is I can use this demand function that's highlighted in yellow as a swap for that Q. All right, so that's going to be 1.25, and then take out the Q and then swap in that demand, which is a quantity, by the way, but it's in terms of P, so that gets us the P variable in our function. All right, and now we have our C of P, okay? And this is what we need. We need a C of P because we have a D of P and we have an S of P, and our other functions are in terms of P, so we need these variables to be consistent, right? So now with my revenue, I know I need to do an R of P. Okay, and always with revenue, think price times quantity. Our price is P, and our quantity is going to be our demand. All right, so we're using that demand again. We used it there, and we're using it there. Okay, and then for our profit equation, profit, you want to take your revenue and subtract your cost. So my revenue is this, what I just wrote above there. That's that R of P. And I'm going to subtract the cost. I'm going to bring in the brackets because I've got to put that whole C of P function in there. All right, so that's my C of P there, okay? And that's going to be my P of P function. All right, now when we go into Excel to find our break-even price, remember this is when our profit is equal to 0. So what you're going to do in Excel is you're going to just build off of the columns that you already have. So I'm going to set up an R of P column and make sure you cell reference here. So this will be price times quantity. So this will be A2 times B2, okay, using my price and quantity. Demand is the quantity. All right, my C of P, okay, is going to be, if you'll, I know you'll probably get dizzy me going back and forth here. My C of P is going to be that 1.25, and then I'm going to times the demand plus 120, okay? So I'm going to have, let's see, 1.25 times the demand, which is that B2, and then plus 120, okay? And just notice here that we are using that demand cell reference. We're not retyping that formula each time. And then my P of P is going to be my R of P cell reference, which is going to be E2, minus my C of P cell reference, which is going to be F2. All right, and then we want to do, pull all this down and get some values, and then you want to graph your P of P function, okay? You want to look for those two intercepts, all right? And then remember, you will need to do your goal seek twice. So for the first one, you're going to goal seek, and Excel's going to give you an answer, and then you need to put in a guess for the second one. Once you graph your function, you're going to see that you have an intercept somewhere around 2.5, so you could use that as your guess, and another one somewhere around 5.5. So I would use those as my guesses. Remember that Excel needs help, right? So we use these guesses to help Excel, okay? And then you want to goal seek, and you should get the sorry, putting that in the wrong spot there. So we're going to goal seek and get the zeros here and here, all right? And then what's going to happen here is Excel's going to give you that 2.62 and then the 5.63 once you do your goal seek process, all right? So that tells us we have those two break-even prices. All right, so I have a break-even price of 2.62 and a break-even price of 5.63. All right, so hey, if you can make it through a problem like this, you're in great shape. All right, so I've talked you through this one. Maybe try going through it again by yourself without looking at your notes and see if you can get all the way through it. And then this will help you in the WebAssign problem, the 2.1. That WebAssign, and it's I want to say maybe it's problem number 2. It talks about bread. It's a company that makes bread, and the whole topic there is bread. So if you will follow these same types of steps here, you can get through that WebAssign. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys soon.